doing this. I have with me here Janice Moorhead from Janice Moorhead Art, I guess. Is that what you call your business?
I call it Moorhead Visual Art.
Okay, Moorhead Visual Art. So for quite a while, and you've been doing the Artfest shows, but not as a painter. You were a glass artist.
That's right.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about how you made a transition to become from a glass artist to become a painter.
Well, I've always been a painter. I studied visual art at Ottawa U many years ago. But in terms of making a living, we're talking over 30 years ago, I discovered glass as a product that I could market really well. So that was the way I earned a living. But I still, I've been painting all the time anyway, in the winter, the slower winter months. I guess a couple of years ago I got a little bit more solid in terms of my subject matter and focus. So I've been working on a series called Interiors for the past couple of years, and secretly hoping eventually I could get a show at a gallery or start to show it. And then, the pandemic hit, and I thought, now's the time for the transition. And I'm, with the online possibility of showing my paintings, I'm quite excited.
Yeah, well, your paintings are beautiful, intriguing. I find your paintings really intriguing. Now, I know that if I'm looking through all your work, and I find some of them to be dark, some of them are humorous, some of them are, you just make you inquire. You sort of dive into it's almost like a story you're telling there.
Yes, you're right. I actually refer to my paintings as narratives in a way. There's always is a story, and it's open to interpretation though. The viewer can make up their own story. It's whatever, but there is the story there, because there's always you usually have one or two figures that there's an interaction possibly. There's also the color, the whole atmosphere to give a mood and create a story, and a dialogue actually between the characters in the painting.
Yeah, it does. Your work really does invite the viewer in, which is a wonderful thing as a painter, and it's for the audience too, because they can all of a sudden make it very personal, I would think.
Yeah, exactly, and that's one thing I learned from doing many years of showing my glasswork and meeting the public. I really discovered that people really want to find meaning, even a literal meaning in a piece of work, because it's just a desire, and they would find things in my glasswork, a meaning that related to themselves. I may never have intended that meaning in the first place, but there's always the desire to find meaning, and so that thought process goes into my painting too.
Yeah, because
I'd like to provide the viewer with that opportunity to look beyond the color and stay with the painting for a little while, because they're trying to find out what is it all about,
Yeah, and I guess too in there, so for them being involved, it makes a great partnership between the artist and the person who ends up buying it, which is really wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So you've accomplished that really well. I know it's another, I look at your work, and I don't know whether it's just because I knew you were a glass artist before, but I do see a lot of play with light sources, reflections, shadows, transparency. You've got everything really that a glass artist has, that wonderful experience with light. You've managed to fuse that into your painting. So how do you do that?
Well, it's funny, because when I first started working with glass, the reason that I was attracted to glass was the transparent nature of glass and the play of light. And then it kind of, I looked at glasswork as a way to have a perfect surface of like a perfect visual surface. And it's always been a struggle of painting to get that kind of transparency. So I've always been working on that, because I think the transparency and the play of light is really what gives life to the painting. And so I've been, that's an element that I've been working on for many years.
Yeah, well, you've really accomplished it amazingly in these paintings. And your paintings are quite like, it's atmosphere, mood, a lot of intrigue. So I think that that light is really a key part of it. I know,
Mm-hmm.
and like I wanted to ask you too about, when we're trying to do transparency, just so our audience understands what does that really mean when you're painting, and what do you mean by creating transparent paint? Like, what does that mean?
Well, for me, I think, say with acrylic paint, if you just apply it like out of the tube and very flat, it's almost going to look dull and plastic looking. But if you apply it in very thin layers and have other colors kind of overlap in parts and keep it really thin with, and transparent mediums, you get more of a depth, and you can develop a transparency that way. It takes time and patience and experiment. And
because I know, like, a lot of your pieces are quite. If I look at the really dark piece, like the one that's called After a Night Out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, somebody that was, maybe just starting out painting, when you say it'll be dark, just paint it all black, right? But we know as artists that creates a really flat, dull.
That particular painting, I actually had very bright colors to start out with underneath it, and then when I put on darker colors, I can take away parts of the darker color to let some of the bright color show through.
Yeah, so it's almost like a glazing, right? Like you must have put, like, to get that rich black and dark colors, you must have put on
it's not
dozens
flat.
of layers.
Yeah, well, it's not just like a flat black. Like, it's like there's many kinds of black, right? That's a kind of a black that's got a bit of green in it, I think, as far as I remember. But it's the rich colors showing through, letting it show through. And the thing that actually has helped a lot is my discovery of this gloss, open gloss medium that keeps the paint wet for longer. So I can put on paint, like I can overlay some paint on top of another color and take away parts of it because it hasn't dried right away. And that's thanks to the so I can take a wet roller and roll off part of the paint. That kind of thing. Because when I first started, I used to paint with oils, but when I first started working with acrylics, I thought, oh my God, it dries so fast. This is so frustrating. There's no time to change your mind or whatever. But then my discovery of this open gel that I can put on, it just delays the drying process and gives me time to change my mind, take some paint away, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and build the story. I know. So when your pieces are finished, are they glossy, or are they more of a matted or?
No, I think they're more on a bit on the glossy side. Yeah.
Okay. Just want to give people a sense of what your work looks like. So tell us a little bit about your studio space. Where do you work? How do you work? What's your practice there? Do you work in home in your studio, or what do you do?
I have one room in my home is my studio, and it's actually very tiny because it's actually a glass studio. And then in the winter I put away the glass and transition it into a painting studio, and I paint quite large, so it's a little bit. The thing that's difficult is not so much while I'm doing the painting, although that's a problem. I can't stand too far back from it because there's no room. But it's having paintings like all over the place and there's no room to put them. That's a bit of an issue.
Yeah. So, yeah, they are quite large. I didn't realize they're.
Well, actually, what I guess what the ones that I gave for Artfest. I think I just put a couple of large ones. A lot of the others are smaller, but the bulk of my work actually is fairly large.
Yeah, different than the glass where you work on smaller pieces, right? That can hang in windows and things. Yeah.
Yeah. No, they're large, and but one thing I've discovered, I paint on board. So if I really, after 6 months to a year, and I'm just not completely happy with the painting, I can just sand it off, and actually, and maybe even leave some parts of it that I like, and I've got a board ready for another painting.
Yeah, that's hard to do. And I know one time when I was an artist colleague, we did an experiment when we each took our paintings that we kind of weren't happy with, and we swapped. And then we each worked to those paintings and added a whole other elements and created a whole new series of paintings. It was really neat how it was an amazing experience. But that's one thing. Versatile with an artist, we like to reuse materials. Never want to waste anything, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, why not? Especially nowadays, like with not too much income coming in.
Yeah, so that's what we're hoping to do. So you're going to be involved in the Artfest new online shop, and we're really excited about that. And it'll be launching soon. And really happy to have you be part of Artfest. I've always loved your work.
Thank you.
Just find your work very, very intriguing. Everything you do, your glass, your paintings, your very complex pieces, and I think it gives the audience a wonderful. Long life of the painting when you've got so much going on there to discover, even after you've had the painting for many years, I'm sure. Okay. Well, thank you for coming along with me today. And we will wrap things up here, and we'll see you soon. And let's all the best, and let's make sure we have some sales on that Artfest website. Thanks, Dan.
Okay, thanks. Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.